Welcome to the Pirate Broadcast, where we interview interesting people doing interesting things, where you can expand your connections, your community. Kindness is cool and smiles are free. And let's get this party started. Welcome to the party. Pirate Broadcast is up again, doing things and interviewing interesting people doing interesting things. What does that mean? It's like crazy. And I just know that you are welcome here. Open up the conversation. You're only one conversation away from getting some of the things you need in the world. So love to have you join us, make some comments, ask some questions, and find out what we're doing today. And today we have another pirate in the house. Marcia, good morning. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you. Thanks for having me. This is fun.
You bet. You know, we've had a little different relationship because I've assisted in the production of Angels Live with Warren Spiewak out of Houston, and he's also a pirate. And I've known Warren for a while now. And you've been doing some incredibly valuable work. And before I get into that, I want to introduce you to some of the people that may not be familiar with who you are and what you're doing. So share with those that aren't familiar with you who Marcia is today.
All right. Well, I'm Marcia Dawood. I am someone who is trying to help entrepreneurs' dreams come true. That's really my passion. My mission is to get more people to be able to do the things that they really want to do. There's some entrepreneurs out there that have some amazing ideas, and they really want to help make change in the world. And I think that's where we need to put our focus. Is we need to invest our time, our expertise, and our dollars into making companies happen that are going to change the world. And go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, I think that's so incredibly valuable. And thank you for doing the work you're doing too.
So I started about not quite 10 years ago. Someone invited me to an angel investing meeting. And I remember saying, what is angel investing? I don't even know what that is. So I went to the meeting and I got to see some really interesting companies that were doing some really interesting and innovative things. And I thought, this is neat. I like this. I want to keep learning about this. And then I just got involved with different groups, had to move around a little bit over the last 10 years with my husband's job. But that got me the opportunity to see a lot of different ecosystems. So, a lot of times people think of entrepreneurs and they might think of Shark Tank for one, because and Shark Tank has done a lot to build awareness. But some people also think, well, in order to be an investor, we have to have a private jet and be super wealthy. And that's not true. Anybody can help entrepreneurs with their time and their expertise, their network. And then, people can get involved with investing at a much lower level that you don't have to have a jet. And so I really got interested in especially helping underrepresented founders, we call them. And that would be women, people of color, younger people, people who don't necessarily fit the stereotypical entrepreneur protocol. And you sometimes find them in places that you wouldn't necessarily think. People think of Silicon Valley and they think that's where all the entrepreneurs and all the big tech companies and all the money is, all the venture capitalists. But really, there are some amazing things happening in so many cities. I was in Houston last week with Warren, and we did start a podcast called Angels Live to get more people to know about what angel investing is and just to get them more familiar. And, there's a lot of podcasts out there that talk about how companies are built, and I listen to them because I think they're really fascinating. But I also think it's really fascinating to hear, how did people become an angel investor? Because it could be anything from, somebody who has maybe is retired, but then there's also people who are still working who are doing it. A lot of more younger people are getting involved. And you can now do things like through crowdfunding, and there's places like Republic is a platform where people can make an investment as low as $100. So there's a lot of different things that are happening in this space, and it's really important that that we keep talking about it and we educate people on the many, many, many different ways that they can get involved, because that's the only way we're going to see change.
Yeah, I think I think one of the major things that I see, having been in the startup community for so long, is that there's a lot of activity in the creative process. And a lot of entrepreneurs are so busy building their products that they don't always think about how they're going to grow, how they're going to scale. So having an investment community like, Angels, being out there in the community that you're involved in is really important to share that information, because there are resources, there are people out there that care, there are mentors that are able to support you. Even just with our time, I've invested hours and hours with people that have, been building companies, and, it's my way of investing, because I'm an investor in several startups, and it's equity, it's time, it's some of the resources that I invest in helping them build to a point where they could do something larger. And so you don't have to think about, like you said, the person in the ivory tower with the jet and that owns a sports team or anything like that.
Right. Yeah.
It could be anything in this new platform that you mentioned, Republic, $100. Mm-hmm. Just think if you had invested in $100 in Jeff Bezos, when he first started out. He had, I don't know how many investors that he went out and said, hey, pitch in this much money. And it wasn't a large amount from an investment perspective. And those people today are really seeing the rewards of that benefit and that investment. So it's so amazing. And I think it's the fabric of who we are as a culture, and the business world, and everything that grows from a seed. And there's so many opportunities right now. I see opportunities everywhere, Marcia, and it's just, I get so excited about it. I have to stop and focus. It's like, what am I going to focus on?
I know there are so many things.
Can you share a few of those ideas that you've been involved with, or at least connected with and highlighted on your show so far?
Yeah, sure. So there's one company in particular. It's called Portfolia, and it is an investment firm designed for women, but everybody's welcome. And it's an investment firm to back companies where people want to see change. And what's interesting about it is you do have to be an accredited investor. And an accredited investor is somebody who has at least $200,000 in income, $300,000 with their spouse, or $1 million in net worth. But a lot of times, in order to be an investor in a fund, it would mean that you would have to write a very large check, like sometimes $250,000. And that's just a lot, for someone to do. So what Portfolia does, it allows people to invest at a lower level. So you can, for only $10,000, you can get exposure then to multiple companies. Because what also happens in angel investing is it takes a long time to build up a portfolio if you're investing in one company at a time. And that still happens quite often. And we don't ever do that alone. We always do it in groups. But a fund is a really interesting way that if you're not really sure, and it's kind of the beginning, and you don't have a lot of knowledge so that you could go out and do all the diligence yourself, then, and because none of us do, this is a great way to be able to do that. And so for as little as $10,000, you get exposure to 8 to 12 companies, and they're are 5 experts who are kind of leading the fund. And you get to watch the companies pitch. Everything's online, and you get to see a lot of the different companies and meet some of the entrepreneurs. So that's really a fascinating way. I really do like, there's a platform called Our Crowd, which is an online VC out of Israel. And I've been watching them grow for years. I knew a lot of the founders when they had first gotten started, and cool. They invest right alongside of some of the really big venture capitalists out in Silicon Valley. So they get access to a lot of interesting deal flow. And also they have very low barriers to entry. You do have to be accredited on that platform as well. But they have access to all kinds of things. There's a fund that they have where you could, some of the companies are things like Masterclass, Epic Sports. So names you've heard of before, which is kind of fun. And then we talked about Republic. That's a crowdfunding platform. You do not have to be accredited to invest on Republic. And there's another group that I'm involved with that I get real excited about. It's called SheEO, and it is a nonprofit, and it allows people to be activators. So you don't invest, you actually make a donation, but then that donation money gets pulled together, and that money gets loaned out to companies so that they can get started with their business, but the loan has a 0 interest rate. Wow. So it's really, really neat. And it's mostly for women. And so we're starting to see a lot more where women and people of color are getting more attention. And I personally am very involved in that. I've been investing in women-led companies and people for a long time. And it's diverse teams are really the best way to go about anything. We all know that diversity of thought is so important. And that's across the board. You don't have to have an all female team or anything like that, but just having diversity in your company is so important. And I think that having more people who are diverse writing the checks is what's going to help get the founders the backing and the support that they need.
So for people that may not, be aware of this, and they learn about this today or in the future when they listen to this, how would a person find an investment group or a community in their local area? What would I search for? What would I want to find, or what would I Google, or is there a listing available, or, because it's one of those things that you're in the knowledge of, it's like in the bubble, the knowledge of the bubble of knowledge. And it's like, okay, everybody knows this. Well, not everybody knows this. So you have to kind of think of how you see things when you're aware of things. And then when you're completely oblivious of them, it's like, I don't know where to start. I don't know how to get involved, but it sounds pretty cool. I'd love to learn more. So how would people, like here in Phoenix, I'm here in Phoenix, there's probably somebody out there doing something along that line.
Yes, and I know a couple of the people in Phoenix who are doing it. So people do angel investing for more than just a financial return. Of course, we all would love to have a financial return, but you're really doing it because of your community. You want to build jobs. You want to create things that are happening in your own community. Mm-hmm. So like you said, there are things that are happening in your own backyard. And literally you could just Google, angel investing in Phoenix, if you want to do that. But there's a couple other things you could do. The Angel Capital Association, which is the professional society of angels in the U.S. I'm a board member. I will take over as chair of the board in July. We have
Congratulations.
Thank you. We have a listing of all of the angel groups in the U.S. So you could go to our website, angelcapitalassociation.org, and you can find a listing of all of the different groups and where they are. Now, what's really been interesting is what's happening with the last year, with everything being so virtual and COVID and everything. And we're seeing so many groups take their their meetings, all of their interactions, they're taking them online. And that just hadn't happened before. So
Yeah.
there's so much more opportunity to get involved in something that like, for example, if you were interested in investing in women-led companies, well, now it doesn't matter where in the country you are, you could join Golden Seeds. So you could just go to goldenseeds.com and you could be a member, and everything is online. You could also go to Portfolia.com, as we talked about. So that's just like portfolio, but with an A at the end. And you can find out about the ways that you can get involved there. So, there's a lot of things that are happening, and ways that you can start to get involved in your local community, as well as things that are happening nationally if you have a specific focus. Some people are specifically focused on like the sector. So they may be, I only want to invest in life sciences, or I only want to invest in tech. And that's fine too.
Yeah. Well, and there's businesses like the individual that you and Warren interviewed that has the delivery service for things heavier than 50
pick
pounds.
Up now.
Yeah,
Brenda.
Pick Up Now. A fascinating story, and this is the curiosity that really gets to me is, you drive down in the industrial district and you see these buildings with a nondescript name on them, and you think, wonder how they're doing. What do they do there? And one of my careers or my jobs when I was in college and out of college is I was delivering office supplies. I was selling office supplies. So I deliver office supplies to these companies. And it was always fascinating to me to talk to the individuals that were doing something. They were building something for an industry, or they were creating something. And that whole idea of creating something from nothing, creating jobs and opportunities for people, and all of this process that you go through. And it's just something that happens that unless you're aware of it and you're in tune with it, it's like it happens invisibly. It just kind of happens. And what you're doing with the angel community is really groundbreaking. I mean, it's been happening for years, but it's groundbreaking in a lot of ways, that the bar to entry and the availability for people to help and contribute is so much more, like you said, Zoom sessions, you can go anywhere and get involved. It's just everywhere once you learn about it. And I just wanted to share the word and let people know that it's an opportunity out there that you can help contribute even in the smallest way possible. And it's just important that we do this work and continue to support startups and continue to support the community that's creating things and building business and growing the industries. And it's just, and it will continue to grow. I mean, even 10 years ago, doing what we're doing now, live streaming and getting this out was incredibly difficult and required a lot of technology. And now we're just jump on a Zoom session or jump on a live stream or a StreamYard or whatever it happens to be, and we can have a conversation. And I get excited about it.
Angel investing really is still in its infancy. I mean, you only saw organized groups get together as long as 20 years ago. Even before that, it was very one-offs. An angel was somebody who was super wealthy, and they would just kind of do their own thing. Now we kind of form in packs so that we can make our dollars together go far. And seeing that transition over the last couple of years and grow, and you see more funds come into place where you can pool money, and there's a money manager who's kind of helping to find the good deals and do the diligence and make the decisions, but giving you more of a diverse exposure. And then, all of a sudden here we hit 2020, and then we kind of went, and we catapulted a little bit into this is all happening really fast, and we can join forces so much easier now because we're in this virtual world. And I think hopefully, we'll start, as things start to open up, we'll have more in-person meetings as well. We'll get to meet entrepreneurs face to face. I actually did make a couple of investments over the last few months with people I had never met in person. I met them obviously on Zoom, but not, shaking hand kind of thing.
Yeah.
And that's okay. I think people are starting to realize, hey, it's not so scary, to meet somebody and get to know them in a virtual world and not necessarily have met them in person before. I mean, if people would be like, that's too crazy. I can't do that.
Yeah.
But now we're all kind of living in this different world. And I think, as we go back to the quote unquote normal, our new normal is going to be a little bit different. And I think it'll make entrepreneurs' lives a lot easier too, because I've been an entrepreneur. I was the COO of one company. I was the CFO of another company. And I have a soft spot in my heart for how hard it is for these entrepreneurs to fundraise. And then they have to take their time away from building their own business. Yeah. So anything that we can do to make the fundraising process easier, more streamlined. So if there are entrepreneurs out there, I feel for you. And I am really working hard to try to make sure that everything that we can do as an angel industry, as an angel group, society, what we can do at the Angel Capital Association is to help make it easier on the entrepreneurs and get them to have a more streamlined way. And I think, all of the things that are happening with the virtual world are really going to make that a lot easier. Before, an entrepreneur would have to fly to pitch here or fly to another place to pitch to an angel group there. And now they can just hop on a couple of Zooms in one day and be in, 4 or 5 or 10 different cities all at one time.
And it's amazing to me. I just wake up every day and do this show, and it's really interesting how we've seen things evolve. We've seen things turn over. I want to shift gears a little bit before we leave today and make sure that we kind of plant the seed for entrepreneurs that may not be familiar with funding about where they need to be as an organization and what pieces of the puzzle need to be in place to present or pitch to a funding organization, for an angel to actually think about or consider an investment process with an individual company or organization. What are some of the pieces that need to be kind of, build up to as an entrepreneur? What would I want to create in order to promote my idea to an angel group?
Yeah, so I'm particularly focused on that. I have an idea. Here's my idea on the back of my napkin here. All the way over to I'm going to pitch to an angel group, because there's like there's a black hole there a little bit where the entrepreneur is like, hey, I gotta do something. I gotta get some money or else I can't move forward.
I'm gonna go out on the corner with my cardboard and sell it.
Yeah, but the angel group's like, you're too early. So how do we kind of fix that? And there isn't an easy answer, but I will give a couple tips, which is one, as scrappy as an entrepreneur can be, the better. And I say that because for really to protect the entrepreneur more than anything, sure, it would be great if you could go out and you could just find people who would just write you checks, and that might make your life a little bit easier. But at the end of the day, I've seen a couple of entrepreneurs who gave away, because they were feeling a little bit of that desperate at the beginning, they gave away a little bit too much of their equity early on. And that actually can magnify what happens later on. And so by the time they were really into the fundraising stage of their company, they had given away so much of their equity that now they didn't have really as much skin in the game, and the angels don't like that either. So there's a balancing act. It's not like the angels are trying to or the investors are trying to take everything from the entrepreneur. I mean, there has to be that balance. So being as scrappy as possible and getting whatever it is that the one thing that your company is going to showcase. Is it that you're trying to have a certain amount of sales? Are you trying to have a certain amount of users? Customer feedback is so important. Whatever you have to do, you want to talk to your customers all the time. So always getting that feedback, even if sometimes you think to yourself, oh my gosh, I don't even know if this is a good use of time. It always is a good use of time to get that feedback from your customers. So these are the types of things that investors would want to see before they'll want to make an investment. And the other thing is, if you have something that's very specific, let's just say it's a life science company. Life science companies, they have their own kind of groups of life science investors who are awesome because they all are scientists and they know all the stuff I'm not. So I just hear about it. I'm like, oh, we could save somebody. And I'm like, yes, I want to do that. But at the same time, I'm like, I'm the worst person in the world to do like a diligence on it because I'm like, I don't understand. I don't understand.
I am not a scientist.
That's not my expertise. That's their expertise. That's awesome. But, when you have something that people would be very passionate about, sometimes at those very early stages, you can find an investor or two who will help you with some, because in the very beginning, you don't need quite as much as you would, a little bit later on. So you could start to kind of talk to some people who are very passionate and potentially get some financial support, but a whole lot of mentorship and also some networking and having people who will open their network to you in order to build your company. And those things are so super important. So just trying to build an advisory board at the beginning can really mean a lot to what's going to happen down the road, because what'll end up happening is you'll go to pitch to specific angel groups and then they may tell you you're too early or you don't have this, you don't have that. So try to have like a really concrete, solid story behind you. And getting those advisors in there are really going to be key.
It makes a lot of sense. And I've been a fan of masterminds for years, and having somebody give you honest, unpolished feedback is valuable, incredibly valuable. And an advisory group, I would think, would be the same way. Give some opportunities to others to get involved in the community that you're building, because a lot of people, it's based on them and their passion and their ability to see the business and the growth and the strategy, but they may have pieces of that process that they're missing. So if you can get an advisor on your board and in your community first, it doesn't even have to be an official board. It just has to be a group of individuals that have the same passion and ability that you do to see the vision, right? Mm-hmm. And it's just, I think it's so critical for if you're thinking about something, don't pass it up. Going out and testing something is the best way to learn. As you're learning things and you're growing and you're going, oh, that didn't work exactly how I wanted it to. Or I've created so many things, Marcia, that I put out into the world and say, that's interesting. And nobody wants to buy it, but I thought it was cool. It's like, if I had an advisory board, they'd probably say, Russ, you need to rethink this, because I get super passionate about creating the creative process. And it's taught me a lot. And I have a lot of experience in that process. However, if I go to funding, I need to think about different things and approach it in a different way. So I just plant that seed for other people. So it's really fun. Angelica is here. She says, outstanding. Thank you so much. Wendy says, welcome to the Pirate Network, Marcia. We love bring each other up. So
nice. I love that.
It's really a pleasure, and thank you so much for being here, Marcia. I know that there's so many resources, and I'll post them in the blog post after the show. And any parting wisdom that you'd like to share with people that have, had that thought in the back of your mind, or, they're looking at doing something and they haven't quite figured it out yet? What parting wisdom would you like to kind of share with us today?
If you're really passionate about something, those are the entrepreneurs that investors want to back. So even if you don't have it all flushed out right away, that's okay. You can, there's plenty of companies out there that pivot all the time. And a pivot isn't necessarily a bad thing. It just means you tried to do it the one way and it didn't really work. So now you're going to try it another way and see how that goes. So it's all about that don't give up mentality and just keep pushing. And you mentioned it earlier, but scalability is probably the one thing that an investor is going to look at with whatever your idea is. So make sure it's scalable. Make sure that you have a serious, sticky problem that you're solving. Don't let your company be a solution in search of a problem.
I love that. I love that. Well, it's been a pleasure, Marcia, and thank you so much for taking the time to share this information with the pirate community. Thanks for having me. I'm a pirate now. You're a pirate now. And, as a pirate, you can always come back and if you have announcements or you have changes or things that are going on, maybe later on in the year, if you want to give us an update on what's happening in the investment community, it'd be wonderful to have you back and share this information updates. So in fact, I have here in Phoenix, I have an event tomorrow that I was going to attend, and it's like the co-working space and the incubator environment is where I've been mostly involved in the startup community. So I'm reaching out to some of those individuals here in Phoenix and getting plugged in that community so I can help others out in that arena. So it'll be fun. I look forward to watching this adventure unfold. And also the future episodes with you and Warren. So I look forward to that as well. So
yes. It'll be fun. Subscribe to Angels Live.
Angels Live, yes.
Any podcasting venue.
Where all fine podcasts are sold. Well, thank you everyone for being here at the Pirate Broadcast. And as always, we welcome and encourage conversation because you're only one conversation away. And also because kindness is cool and smiles are free. So you enjoy the day. Don't go away. Thank you for joining the Pirate Broadcast. If you found this content valuable, please like, comment, and share it across your social media channels. I would love the opportunity to help others grow in their business. The Pirate Syndicate is a platform where you show up, we produce the show. It's that easy. If you want to be seen, be heard, and be talked about, join the Pirate Syndicate.